All right. Okay. Welcome everybody to our global BA stand up for the month of June. Sorry about the late start. It's just been kind of a crazy month already. It's only the second. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what has happened? For me personally, I've had some challenges over the weekend. I had car issues. My website went down. I was like, oh my God, what is becoming of this month? It just started with all this problem for me. But luckily, I was able to solve my website issue, which was the back office club. So if you've been trying to access it over the weekend, it was down. There was some system issue that I had with one particular plugin, and it was giving me trouble. But it's back. And then my car, my car that I just bought, it wouldn't start over the weekend. So I was like, oh Lord have mercy. But I was able to get a mechanic to come out. He looked at it, was able to get it towed to the dealership, and they're looking at it now, and they promised to give it back to me by the end of this week so I can take my daughter to camp. So I was very flustered, which kind of bled over to today while we're starting late. I had some other meetings that ran over. So it started off kind of rocky, but I hope that it gets better. June is my month, actually. I was saying this to Joshua, my assistant. I was saying June is my month because in June is my birthday. Okay, my birthday is on at the end of the month, near and on the 28th actually, and I normally celebrate my birthday together with July 4th. So I just take the whole week, and I like to do like beach stuff and fun stuff. So I'm like, come on, June, don't start off rocky. I need this month to be good because it's gonna be my birthday month. So yeah, it's hopefully it'll just be a rough start and then it gets better, hopefully. But I'm happy you all are here. This is the highlight of my week so far, and at least for the month so far. I get to hang out with you guys, which I absolutely look forward to. I love hanging out with you guys. Every month we do this Global BA Stand-Up. If you're here for the first time, we meet on the first Monday of every single month. Somebody says, well, it can get better. Yes, it should. It has to, okay? It has to get better. Okay. So yeah, we meet on the first Monday of every single month. And when we meet, we talk about things to do with the business analyst career. So we're talking about how to grow your career, any concerns you have, especially for those who are in the job market. You know, the job market is being rough right now. It's kind of difficult to land a job. People have been in the job market for months, and it's difficult. But we talk about how to help you. I like when you guys can ask me questions and I can answer them. Right now, for those of you who want to join the meeting, we have the meeting going on Google Meet, and I also have the live going on. But for those of you in the meeting, your information is not being shared. So feel free to ask a question. They'll only hear your audio. So anybody who is worried about that, don't worry about that. The live is just me, but I would encourage you guys to be open and frank. It's just your audio, so it's okay. But when we meet, we talk about things that benefit us as business analysts who are already in the field and people trying to break in to become a BA. I had some good news this month. I've done some consultations with persons who reached out to me on my website, karaleise.com. By the way, you can go there to book a consult. And at the end of the consult, I was able to help them to prepare for the interview. And they got calls, and they've been on the first interview and about to go on the second interview. So I'm just praying that person up to help them to get started. But sometimes you need somebody who knows what they're doing to give you the advice to help you to avoid the mistakes and get your career started, right? Sometimes you just need a shortcut. And the shortcut is not by making up a bunch of stuff. You guys know I do not agree with this. Making up a bunch of stuff, putting a bunch of stuff on your resume that you have no idea about, and then trying to just be the best liar that you can in the interview. We don't want to do that. We want to help you to really understand the role. We want to help you to really understand what to do. So when you go into interviews, you can speak with much more authority and much more confidence because you've done it. There's no shortcut to doing the work, right? So if you do the work, you can talk about the work because you've done it. Now, you don't have a job as a BA, but you can overcome that by doing the case studies, by doing a consultation with myself, by watching the videos, by practicing, by getting access to the tools, all of these things that myself and other creators do provide on YouTube, which is a great platform for everybody to learn. And the websites that I have would have, downloadable stuff that's for free. You don't have to pay me for the downloads. You go there, you download some free templates, you practice with them, and everybody's happy, right? So I want to help you to genuinely learn how to do this role and to get started. And if you already started, to excel. Um, Sometimes you think about it, we all have such a short time on this planet, right? By the way, I have picked up a new kind of a new hobby. I've always liked history, so I've been listening to medieval history tales to go to bed at night. Like sometimes you listen, it's like it's written for sleep, so it's very soothing and calming. It's telling you about medieval times and the castle building and how medieval peasants lived, and it's so fascinating to me because I'm like, oh my God, a whole bunch of people had a lifestyle that if they were to compare to the minimum things I'm doing now, I would be like a queen. Like the fact that I have running water in my house, like so many things that, hundreds of years ago we didn't have. So we're so fortunate to be born in this time. And our lifetime here is very short. So the more we can produce things that help others, is better for us because that's the only legacy we really have, right? Everything you come into this world and you acquire, you will leave without it. But if you create knowledge products, um, books, you make an impact somehow, even in your small sphere, it does live on beyond you. So I think if I can produce tools and documents and templates and something to help in the small sphere of business analysis, those are things that I think would be very valuable. And if we're here and we're doing something and it's working, we should endeavor to help others to do the same. There's no competition, right? If 7 billion people are on the earth, 7 billion people can have businesses, 7 billion people can produce things that are helpful for the next 7 billion that's coming up. It'll just make us just all the tides rise, the tide rises all the boats, right? You know that saying. So I'm just looking forward to doing more and more to help you guys. And so this forum is one of those things where I will help you to get started. And if you have any questions, this is the place to ask them. So we typically do this in a forum setting where we first talk about those people who are looking for a job. Like if you're looking for a job and you're in the job hunt, do you have any questions? And then we'll talk about people, or we'll ask people who already have a job. Maybe you're working on a project and you have a specific question about your project that I can probably help you with, or other people on the call can help you with. Then we get into that, and then we may have some shy people who want to put something on our idea board. And I don't know if Joshua has shared the idea board as yet, but you can share it in the chat. So if anybody wants to add it there, then they can add it there. All right, so I'm going to open the floor up. By the way, welcome everybody. Do you want to put in the chat where you guys are coming in from? I always love to see how global we are. This global VA stand-up. Somebody says hello from India. Hello from London. Awesome. Great. Thank you for joining. Oh my goodness. And I think in India it's getting late. It's like at nighttime now for you guys, I think. That's awesome. So put in the chat for you guys who are on the call also, where you guys are coming in from. Canada, Toronto. I had on my bucket list to go to Canada this year. I keep going to Quebec, but I want to go to Toronto specifically, and I want to also go look at the waterfall. So yeah, New York, yeah, I'm coming to New York soon, hopefully. UK, Cherichi. Hey, Cherichi's here. Cherichi's a member of our back office club. Awesome guy. Manitoba. Oh, lots of Canadians in the house. That's awesome. Welcome, Canadians. We love you. Don't listen to what they say. The US, we love you, okay? All right. So a couple of people from Canada, from the UK, from India. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, I'm going to open the floor up. Does anybody have any questions for me Texas? Awesome. Welcome, Texas. Anybody have any questions for me, for those of you who are trying to start your career? Any interview related or job hunt related questions? Feel free to go ahead and ask. And don't be shy. Yeah, no questions on job hunt? Okay, cool. I want to tell you guys about something. So at the Back Office Club, we have this membership program, and we have regular sessions, right? We have live sessions. You can get access to our tools of Jira, DevOps, and all of these other tools. And we meet regularly and we discuss regularly. So one of our sessions that we had, was it last week or maybe the week before, we were talking about in the job hunt, because we have one session for people who are in the job hunt and one for those who already have a job. So in the job hunt session that we had, we were talking about the the job hunt for using tools like LinkedIn or Glassdoor. And we actually did a comparison between the two, and I'll probably post that on YouTube. But it was interesting to see the differences between finding jobs on LinkedIn and finding jobs on Glassdoor. Both of them obviously are very popular and they have a lot of jobs. But one of the things that we found that we really liked when we studied this was with Glassdoor, you get more reviews. So you get people who have actually been on the interview who will tell you, oh, on the interview they asked me this question or that question. And you also get people who will tell you what the job was like. Sometimes it's people who are leaving who may be a little bit disgruntled. Or it might be people who really love this place. They love the CEO. They thought that the leadership was wonderful. And they'll give you insights that you don't normally get. So the fact that you can have the company review could be very helpful to help you avoid a toxic environment, right? And help you to find just a better job. So I would encourage you guys, if you're in the job hunt, you have more jobs being placed on LinkedIn for sure, but you can go research the company on Glassdoor just to get a better sense of how this interview process goes, what happened to previous candidates, what do people say about the CEO, the leadership, the company itself, and just basically get a more holistic view of the job so that you can go into the interview more prepared and just kind of more ready. Hopefully you'll get the job. So we have a comment here from Devendra. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. So she says, I'm a business analyst, but I have never worked on agile environment, but I have interview lined up which requires experience in agile, although I am aware of the agile SDLC, but not practically. Yeah, so it's going to be very common in the interview process to be asked about agile, because even if the company is not agile right now, they're going to get to agile soon. At some point, they're going to ask you about something to do with agile. So when I first was getting into agile myself, I had the same kind of concern, like, how do people work in this methodology? Like, you don't plan everything, so how do you know what you're doing, and how do you know if it's going to work? Like, how can you just get up and just do whatever you want to do for just 2 weeks at a time? I found it to be very strange. But as you get into it and you start seeing how it works, you're like, but this is awesome, this is cool, this is going to help us, we can adapt, we can change, we can pivot, this is great. So now I've become like a snob against waterfall. So I'm a waterfall snob. And anytime I see people working waterfall, I'm like, ugh, you guys are so backward. We need to move on with the time. We need to be modern, right? Although there are some projects that are better suited for waterfall, and I agree that those exist. So if you're not too familiar with agile and you have an interview lined up soon, yeah, you got to get on that. You got to get on that. So you don't have to learn every single thing, but you need to understand the main concepts of agile. Like, why do we use agile? What's the benefit of it? What are, especially if you're looking at agile, the most common methodology, because agile is a group of methodologies, right? It's not just one agile. There's a number of them, and I have a whole spiel. If you look on my YouTube channel, I have several videos on agile. You can really dive deep into that. You see how I listen to these medieval time stories to go to my bed? You got to start listening to my voice talking about agile to go to your bed. Like, you got to soak that up. So you got to really try to get as much knowledge about that in as possible. But to be honest, you just need to focus on Scrum, right? Scrum is the most popular one. You don't even have to learn Kanban right now. Just focus on Scrum. Understand the ceremonies. What are the different ceremonies or events? So we got our sprint. We have our sprint planning. We have our daily Scrum or stand-ups. We have our retrospective. We have our demo, right? So all of these things, what are they? When do we do them? What do they entail? Who's running it? Who's managing it? So all of these things you have to be very familiar with so you can talk about it. And in general, if you're working in agile, you can mention that you've worked in waterfall and you've transitioned into agile. You don't have to pretend to be like an agile expert all along, right? You can say that you've worked in both. And then what you'll do is you'll watch my videos. You go download some of my artifacts. I have up on karaleise.com, I have a case study where you have to write user stories. So you have to be familiar with how to write user stories versus how to write regular requirements. So it's not something you can do overnight necessarily and learn everything overnight, but the big parts of it, the big chunks of it, just to understand enough to hopefully get through the interview, you can do. I don't know when your interview is. You said it's lined up, but I don't know when, how much days you have. But if I were you, I would jump straight into the training on Agile. I think I have some of the better trainings on Agile that's more practical, that will help you in the interview. So that's where I would start, because this is going to be helpful for that interview. It's going to be helpful for the job. You're not going to get away with being a BA right now without knowing Agile. That's going to be super, super fundamental. And the sooner you can get on it, the better. Um, so you don't have experience with development team. Okay. So in your BA role before, you probably were doing more like maybe process BA. And I'm sorry, not on the call where I could actually have a conversation with you. If you want to join the call, by the way, you can go to karaleise.com, click on the Global BA Stand Up, sign up, and it'll give you the link, and you can join, and you can actually ask your question live, and I'll be willing to answer you if you want to do that way. But yeah, if you don't have access, if you don't have experience with working with technical team and development team, but you've worked on digital transformation, maybe the processes and maybe other things, the agile team is working in agile. It works best with a development team, because if you're doing agile like in a different type of project that doesn't have software development, yes, it can work, but you see the most benefit from it with developing software or implementing software. So it's not too much different from what you're doing. It's just that the team is more technical, right? And you'll have to start asking more questions and understanding where they're coming from to translate that to the business. Again, if you're a BA already, you have some of these skills already. When you go in the interview, your focus is to tell them how you can help with eliciting the requirements and being a good bridge between the business and the technical team. If you've never worked with technical team, they're just people, right? They're not going to come and bite you. You don't have to know everything they know. You don't have to become a software architect overnight to be a BA. You don't have to become a developer overnight to be a BA. You will never write a line of code. Okay? All you need to know is what is the concern of the technical team? What questions do they have that I need to answer? What are the concerns? So you're just basically going to be like a referee alongside the Scrum Master, alongside the PO. So don't be intimidated too much about the technical team. Yes, when you join the meetings, they'll be talking about stuff that go over your head. They'll be talking about API calls and components and Java and, all of these things that I hear all the time, and I have no interest in learning what these things are. I'm not going to be writing any kind of code. There are some BAs that are very technical. I work with BAs who are so knowledgeable, so smart, so amazing. Actually, my whole team, I feel like I have the dream team, right? I work with really professional, really high quality people, and I really love them. And none of them is on this call, by the way, so I'm not trying to make them feel good. It's just that they're really great people, very knowledgeable, very smart. And when they're talking about stuff that I don't know, I'll tell them I don't know. You don't have to pretend to know everything. Nobody's expecting you to open up a computer that has a bunch of code in it and, oh yeah, I understand that. You're not supposed to. That's why they're there, so that you don't have to know it, because you can ask them. So don't be worried too much about the technical team. The technical team, the most you'll find is that you'll have different personalities. Maybe most of the guys like to be doing gaming, and they're kind of introverted sometimes, but they're just people. You don't know something, you ask them. You clarify. You need clarification on what this means at a business level. They're used to that. They know we don't know anything about the code they write. They have to tell us. So it's not strange. Don't be too intimidated about working with technical team. If you're a process BA where you're doing all these process flow diagrams and you're making sure we have the right steps and all that stuff, that's applicable too. Because when you work with the technical team, they have to follow the process. They're going to have to know what the process steps are for them to write the code to match the process that you've come up with. So the only thing that's missing for you is just that extra step of taking it to the technical team and having them review it and knowing how to break up this big thing into smaller chunks that they can then estimate, that they can then work on, and you can follow along in the daily stand-up to make sure it's being done the right way. So again, I have tons of examples, tons of documentation. Go to karaleise.com and download all the free stuff, and go to YouTube and watch all the free videos. And if you still need help, you can always join the Back Office Club. We work on real world projects all the time, and you can ask questions directly. So backofficeclub.org is the other one that you can have more continuous training if you need like hand holding as you go through the project. So there's that. Okay. Any other questions from anybody else? Feel free to ask the question, guys. This is why we're here. I'm here to help you. You have me for almost an hour because I joined late, but you have me for the next 30 minutes or so. This is the time to ask the question.
Hey,
Hi.
good afternoon.
Hey, Annie, how are you?
I'm great. I'm in Florida. I was like, oh, wait, the times are different. I'm not in Texas. Wait. She's on right now.
Welcome, Annie. We miss you.
I just got off both interviews. Nervous. I was drinking coffee. I had to throw my coffee out because I had the jitters. And I did they were both, thank you for my resume. They were both excited about my resume.
Yes. Good.
One required, so the first one required, they didn't really require a bachelor's, so I only have my associates, but I did, level my years of experience. And then, so they said that was good. The other one is a senior position that's in my field of pathology. And when she asked about salary, I said negotiable, but because I said I did my research because I know this is a senior role, and I don't have the bachelor's. I said, but I've been working in this field, and plus I have, pathology experience. So I'm hoping that they'll still consider, like I literally am praying the Isaiah 41:10, that fear not, I'm with you, I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will everything. Lord, I need you to just let your light shine through me. So, yes.
No, I mean, Annie, your story is so amazing to me because Annie has so much experience in her field, right, in medicine, and she just hasn't worked as a BA before, but she want to make the transition, so she has all of this domain knowledge, but not the BA knowledge. So now for her to be able to find a job that is so unique that it blends her specific domain knowledge, but they want it in a BA. So I think that's God, right? That is God because it's so hard to find a healthcare BA that has a specific niche specialization that you have. So I'm really hoping, I'm glad that they like the resume. Annie had also done a consultation where we worked on her resume and make sure it was saying the right things and that she wasn't, like shooting herself in the foot, because sometimes without knowing the BA role, you can say things on the resume that cost you the interview. So luckily that resume is working out and you're getting the interviews. So we're going to pray you up, Annie. We're going to pray you up. We're going to put some good energy in the air for you so you can get started in this career. Everybody, you got to think about Annie and try to give her some good energy towards getting this job. She just did the interview. And we want to get some good news that she actually got the job. We're looking forward to that. We're going to pray for that. God is good. And you know what? What's for you is for you.
Amen. Thank you.
You got 2 interviews in the same day, girl. Listen, you're rocking and rolling, okay? We're doing good.
Thank you. I had my interview questions ready. Thank God it was just over the phone and not in person. I mean, I have my work blouse and I have literally my Spanx.
Yeah, only see from the middle up. They wouldn't see the rest anyway.
Yes. So I had my interview questions ready. I know when they talked about you're negotiating your salary, I didn't want to, make it seem like, oh, I'll just take anything. But I did say, because I know it's a senior role and I do have the experience working in this field as far as pathology and healthcare. With one job, I told them that I gave them a number. I did give them a number, like I'm willing, because depending on if I move, I know that this will be able to sustain and help, And so that should lower them, to be like, okay, she's not, going overboard because she knows she don't really have it, but we're gonna give her something that, because I never had they're asking, what they
Yes.
are
But
willing
you
to
know,
give
your
me.
8 years of experience, even though it's not BA, it's pathology, and that's hard to get. It's easier for somebody to be trained as a BA, to be honest, than to be trained in the pathology specification that you're in. So I think they should value that, and with an associate
Yes.
degree, that should be valuable. And you know, there's some companies where if you even give them a number and the number is like not what they had in mind and they make you an offer, they might bump it up just to make it a sweetened deal that you can't say no to,
Okay.
right? So not everybody's like terrible and give you whatever you ask for, they give you, even though other people are getting paid more. But if you
Yeah.
give them too much of a low number, they'll give you like if they're okay, they'll give you a little bit more, and then you're still below the average that everybody is making. But it's okay. You want to get started. You want to get
Yes.
started. You want to get in the field, and if you need to leave the next job a year from now, that will be a senior job, and then you can make the kind of
Yes.
money that you deserve. So I'm just so happy for
Thank you.
you.
And I also shared
I
that
am happy.
I am with the other job. I did share that I did, to touch up on the keep up with my skills that
Yes.
I am, I say I'm in the back office club, which
Yes.
I'm definitely going to join because you have that one. Okay, you got the job. So now what? So
And
that's
that's
where I'm going to be.
And that's what the back office club is intended to do too, for the people who just got the job. And even though you have some knowledge, you've done the boot camp, you've done the training, you're knowledgeable somewhat, but you don't know how to apply it to your first project, and you just don't want to mess up because you feel like they just hired you. You want to give a good impression. The back office club
Hmm.
would be a great place to start because you have that continuous support. You can ask questions. You can talk about your particular project. We're all there to learn from you and to learn with you and to help you. And you have my expertise. So that's also something. But when you get the job and you're ready for that, you can always come.
Thank you so much. Y'all,
Awesome.
she's amazing. Amazing. It's like I'm cheating on my school with you. Don't tell them,
I won't
okay?
tell them. I won't tell them. I'll keep it our secret. All right. Thank you so much, Annie. We look
Thank
forward to good
you.
news from you shortly. Look forward to that. All right.
Okay.
Margot, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, Karaleise.
Hey,
How are
welcome back,
you?
Margot.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Previously, because I was one of those people who were in the job market for months at a time, and then I ultimately went with a different role to transition into the big role.
Okay.
But now that I'm in this role, could you give me like some pointers on how to do that? Because I'll go to like networking events and I'll talk to the BAs and things of that nature, but I'm not really sure how to, which I'm going to book something with you personally, but just throwing out tips
So
on how
are you in a
to.
BA role now, or did you get a different job that's adjacent?
It's a different job entirely. Because once I applied for this position, I got a call back for another position that I didn't apply for, and I accepted it to be in the company. But now that I've accepted it, I'm locked in for so many months before they'll let me transition. And so I'm kind of like,
But do
okay.
they have BA role in that company? Do they have BA
They,
jobs?
yes, they have BA
Okay.
roles. For me, just to give a little background, I have a ServiceNow CSA. So I did ServiceNow Business Analyst prior to this position. They do have ServiceNow, but it's not for the BA. And they have BA, that's just separate. But yes, they have a BA position.
Okay, so that's good because sometimes when we transition, and I just saw Cynthia join. Cynthia is one of our back office club members, and she'd asked about this in one of our meetings. So sometimes when you take a job just because, hey, you need to get paid and the BA role isn't coming and we just need to take something right now, they give you an offer. Hey, I don't blame you. Take something, but it's good when you can take something that's still aligned, or the company does have BA, so you can try to from within move up. The challenge is sometimes when you get stuck in the job that's not a BA, it's any job you get, you have to perform in that job, right? You have to know about that process and all the stuff that's there. So it takes away your time from learning BA because now you're like focused on getting competent in this role. And then sometimes because you're a new hire, they just, they had an empty seat and they just closed that empty seat. They don't want to have to go through that again shortly. They don't want to go through that again next year. So they kind of want to keep you in that same role so they don't have to go interview for that role again. So sometimes you can really get not stuck, but like locked into that role. So you have to, day one, if you know you're not planning on staying in that position for long, you have to start thinking about your exit strategy the minute you get started. So that helps, that creates some kind of anxiety, because you know in your head, like, okay, I'm just doing this right now. I'm not really going to be here for too long. But as I said, I think if you're trying to get into a BA role, personally, I like to go direct. I want to just get a BA job. But if you take the kind of a shorter cut because of what the market is like right now, you still have to keep up with your learning. You still have to keep up with your um, training and focusing on that. And the good thing about BA is that there are many places that it applies, even if you don't have the title. There's many places where there's a process that's broken. There's many places where there are inefficient processes or inefficiencies in different things that we're doing. Where can you apply your BA skills even within the job that's not titled BA, right? So you can still find ways to improve. And a lot of times, if you just get hired, nobody wants to listen to you because you're like, you just came, right? You're not going to change anything right now. You just got hired, right? So you kind of have to sometimes learn how they work, learn what they're doing, learn the personalities, and see if they're open to any suggestions before you make any, because they may feel like you're just here. Why are you trying to change stuff, right? So there's the personality management thing that you have to do. But in general, I think if the company has a BA role, that's great, because now you can try to see how you can get into that. And if you can choose projects, I don't know if you can, but if there's an opportunity for you to choose to work on things that would bring you closer and closer to the BA role, that's what you do. Like if there's an opening for a project, you can volunteer to do stuff. You can volunteer to document on the projects. You can volunteer to add some notes from meetings and send that out. Like what can you do within your role that still helps you to develop and grow your BA skills? That's kind of what it is, because right now you have to focus on doing a good job in the role that you just got hired for. So everything you're doing for BA is going to be outside of that. Now you have to find extra time to go learn and keep up with what's going on in the BA field. And then don't stop applying. Even though you just got this job, you got to keep applying for the BA role anyway. And if one comes up that's helpful and it aligns with what you're trying to do, then you take it. And then the question will be, oh, you just got a job, why are you trying to get a new job? And you just mentioned that you really want to be in the business analyst and this is the role that you like it, but it doesn't give you as much exposure to BA that you're good at as the one that they're offering. And that's it. Most employers understand that. People jump all the time. Right? So I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just it takes a little bit more around the bends to get there. But at least while you're doing that, you're earning money, right? And you're supporting yourself, and that's sometimes what we have to do to get to where we want to go. All right.
Thank you.
Cool.
I appreciate you. I'm gonna ask another question and get somebody else a chance though.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to answer one more and I'll come back to you. So there's a question on the live that says, what is the difference between a product owner and a business analyst? So I was going to answer this when we get to the job market part, like the people who already have a job part, but I'll answer it because it might be an interview question. So in many companies, the BA and the PO sometimes are the same person. It depends on how big the company is. I found in mainly startups and small companies, they tend to not have enough headcount and they have people doing multiple roles and wearing multiple hats. It's okay. The two roles are sometimes similar. The biggest problem we have as BAs is that we were done a big injustice. And I've written to the people who came up with agile, and I've told them that they've done us a big injustice and they need to correct it. What they did was that they're coming up with agile, and Scrum particularly in the Scrum. If you go to scrum.org and these other organizations that champion Scrum, they mention the Scrum Master, the developers, and everybody's a developer. Whether you're a QA or not, you just throw it in the developer bucket. They want to make it simple. And then they mention product owner. They do not mention business analyst. So what happens is the companies go out to hire, they're going to transition from waterfall to agile. And they look and they see what do the Scrum experts say that we need? What roles we need? Oh, we need developers? Okay, they go get developers. But they know they need QA. Because whatever you develop has to be tested. So they get developers and QA. They may know they need SAs, architects. So they go get architects. So that's kind of known. And then they go get a Scrum Master. And then they're like, okay, let's see who in our team could act in the position of a PO because they normally want somebody with lots of product knowledge to be the PO. Okay, now we get a PO. And they're done. And then when they get the project, they realize, oh, but the person who knows how to operate isn't the best to work in Scrum because that person doesn't know how to break down features into smaller user stories. They don't know how to discuss with the technical team. They don't know how to elicit the requirements. They know the product, they know the process, they know the operations, but they don't know how to manage that when they're building software, having a digital transformation. And then somebody tells them, oh, that's a role that's called a business analyst. And they're, oh, okay. Now they need to go hire for a BA. This is what happens in a lot of companies. And it's because when they developed Scrum, they just left us out. They didn't think about us. So we're kind of like the underdogs now. But we're so vital that when they finally get a BA, they're like, oh, that's what we were missing all this time. And then they finally realize the value that we bring. So a lot of companies don't know. Some of them know by now because, they talk to each other. But this is where the BA and the PO get so confused because they think because you know the operations of the company that you'll just automatically be a BA. And sometimes they have the people wearing the same hats and they don't have the technical or the formal training of a BA to actually execute on the role well. So what is the difference? The PO, based on Scrum, the PO is the one that takes the decision as to what we work on. So they are the ones who determine the priority. That's what the PO is. And the reason they can determine the priorities is because they know the operations and they know the clients and they know the objective of the organization and they know whatever. They're in all of these leadership meetings. So they can determine if we have a conflict between what we should work on. They know, okay, this is what we work on first and then this and then this and then that. So they help the BA to focus on what needs to be worked on next. And the team works on whatever the PO prioritizes. That's the role of the PO. The BA, your main deliverable are the requirements, whether it's a requirement in the format of a BRD for waterfall. BRD is using waterfall, by the way. BRD is not using agile. So anybody out here doing agile and you're writing BRDs, yeah, we need to talk, okay? Your organization, they need to do better. So, and I told you, I'm a waterfall snob now, right? I'm a waterfall snob. So the requirements that you deliver could either be in BRD if you're working in waterfall or your user stories. But you are responsible for determining what is the requirement. What should we be doing? You are talking about the what, and you're going to document the what. You're going to discuss with the team, and the team will tell you how they're going to do it. So you focus on what? Team, technical team, essays, all of these technical people determine how they're going to deliver what you came up with. So the PO is working on the priority of all the stuff that you need to work on, and you determine what those things are. Imagine you have a long to-do list. What is on that to-do list? That's you, the BA. The PO will be the person determining what is the order of that to-do list. What comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So that's the real difference between the deliverables of a PO and a BA. Sometimes they can be the same person. I don't recommend it because the PO has to be at a higher level and be in all these executive meetings and discussions and have to really understand the client. And then the BA has to be down in the details too. So you need to understand the leadership objective and you also need to be in the details. You are the most detailed about what the acceptance criteria will be for what they're going to build. So it's hard for you to work at these two levels. You'll become severely burnt out. So I would not suggest the PO become the BA. I don't suggest the BA become the PO. It's great if you could have two separate roles. But in some companies, they try to squeeze everything out of one person and you have the same person doing both roles. So that's where the confusion comes in. I hope that was clear. I know it was a long-winded answer. But yeah. Okay, so let's see, follow-up question. Okay, I'm going to answer that one next. But let me see. Is there any follow-up question about PO versus BA? Somebody says, so the BA work on the requirements, document user stories of the backlog items prioritized by the PO for each sprint. Yes. So for example, in Agile, you have your backlog, right? And your backlog will have all of these things that you need to do. You can't work on all of it at once. And remember, each sprint is typically around two weeks. So you may have a lot of things in your backlog. I've seen backlog that's like an absolute nightmare. I've seen backlog with 200 items. We cannot work on 200 items in 2 weeks. So who's going to determine which ones go when. Some of these things have dependencies. So you talk to your development team and say, okay, okay. These are the things that we want to work on, and they can tell you, well, in order to do this, you have to do this first, and then we have a dependency and an API call for this or whatever, right? So now you have a sense of what's related, but still, somebody has to take the call as to which one to work on first, and you don't want it to be you, the BA, because somebody else has to be owner of this. They have to be responsible for if you take the call, you build what you feel like, and it doesn't align with the company, and you end up creating features that they didn't want. You don't want to be responsible for that. That's why you have a PO, and that's their call. They're owning it, and they they need to make sure we work on the right thing. All right, Margot, what's your follow-up question?
Okay, so in an attempt to stay relevant in the ServiceNow/BA environment, I kind of went left to come back full circle, and so I applied. And I got in, yay! But I applied for the ServiceNow developer role, which I know is out of BA. But I did it so I could become more technical. So when I'm in front of clients, not only am I listening to what they need, but I can also solution to what they need to add a deeper level on it. Mm-hmm. And so I start that in a week or two. I think June 10th, whichever day that is. It was 8 days. There we go. 8 days is when I start that training program. Mm-hmm. But I'm still in the role, as you stated, not even doing BA things. So to maintain the relevancy of the BA with the developer role, do you think that there is a certain direction or niche that I should focus on to make sure that when I'm going out for those interviews, I'm still appealing to that BA side as well? Does my question make sense?
I want to try to rephrase it. So what I heard, what I understood was that you're doing ServiceNow in your current role, and you want to find out what, if anything, you can do to still stay relevant as a BA, even though you're working every day kind of in ServiceNow, right? Is that what you mean?
No, so I'm not doing ServiceNow at all for work. I want to get back into it. Yeah, I know. Because I was in the job market for a while. And went on several interviews, like 8, 9, 10 rounds, Karaleise, and for whatever reason, I was not being selected. And what was usually told to me, that I didn't have enough technical background. And I was like, okay, well, can't get more technical than a developer. Let me go this route so that I can never be told that again. And so I'm starting this training process next week or the 10th, whenever that is. And so I do this process. This process is like, a few months long. And then I want to get back out there for the interview. So when that happens, they can't tell me that because I'm going to have a deeper level. Mm-hmm. And so I guess my question to you, if I can kind of refine it, is do you have tips on things that you think that I should do in that situation for the BA? Because I still want to be a BA. I want to be a BA maybe / developer role, because I guess I can go deeper now. Mm-hmm. But just because, I'm not doing anything relevant to ServiceNow or business analyst at all right now in terms of my work. I'm doing that. All of that is outside of work, or emails outside of work, or LinkedIn outside of work. You know what I mean?
It's kind of the same advice, really, to, and you're kind of doing it already, which is you have to stay up to date, even though your job is like taking you away from that. You have to stay, and I like the fact that you're going into this course that's going to keep you kind of in the momentum of it, so you don't lose knowledge of what's going on in the field. I will say that you don't have to be a developer to be technical. I don't want to put that out there, right? It's good if you do, and if you can learn and understand how they write code and how the code works, but you really don't have to become one to talk to one. I think one of the biggest skills to get through interviews is knowing how to talk about what you've done. Sometimes we do the thing and we know how to do it, but it's just hard to kind of, in a short 30-minute interview, figure out all the best words, explain all that what you've done over years, right? It's really difficult. So even though you're going to be more on hands-on with the technical stuff that nobody can say you're not technical enough in the future, you still have to focus on how do I talk about what I have done so that somebody else who's not in my world can understand it. So it's about communicating what your skills are. And there's a separate skill for interviewing, right? Which is what the consult I do is for. It's how to convey that to them so that they can understand it And obviously, if you've been doing the course, you're gonna be more deep, so you can really get into it. A lot of people, to be honest with you, in the interviews are not gonna be like asking you, okay, tell me how you write a SQL query, and tell me how you, you know, you do a where clause here or there, or tell me how you merge these tables, or tell me, what's the line of code you'd use for doing like a type of search. I don't know, but they're not going to get into that much technical detail in the interviews. But you have to convey that you're technical enough to understand how to deal with technical people. So the biggest skill you have to master is how to talk about what you've been doing and how to interview for a BA role. So I think what you're doing is fine. You already have a job that's paying you. You're still keeping up with the BA activities, like joining this call is good for you. Um, I think doing the course that you're doing is great, but I think you need to focus on making sure that when you're ready to go back into interviewing for BA, that you have the lingo, you have the language, you know how to talk about it, and you can express yourself in such a way that they can see the BA in you when you talk, right? And that's by not saying words like customer, right? Saying stakeholder, talking about projects, talking about timelines, talking about your approach, talking about definition of ready, definition of done, like just having the jargons to help them to see you in that light is also important, because you only have 30 minutes to convince a stranger that that you are a VA, right? So I think it's the lingo and the language and the ability to articulate it well that you should focus on, because now you're going to have the technical background for sure.
This provides a lot of direction and a lot of insight when she said it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think those are pointers that make a lot of sense looking back on the interviews.
Yeah. All right. Awesome, Margaret. If you need any help, you can always reach out to me. You know where to find me, right?
Thank you.
All right. Labastic, welcome back. I love to see returning faces. Margot, Lavastic, Annie, and there's so many other people in here that are regular members of the Global BA Stand Up. I'm happy to see you guys coming every single month. I really love that. Awesome. Go ahead. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, good afternoon from the UK.
Yay!
Yeah, my case is a little bit opposite to the speaker that's just spoken. I've had a situation recently where I work as a technical business analyst, by the way. So I was interviewing for a BA role. Not technical, but a bit more stakeholder facing, stakeholder engaging.
Yeah.
So the feedback, I didn't get the role, but the feedback I got was like, I think I'm being seen as somebody that is a bit more technical and not I've been kind of like put in that box where they feel like my stakeholder storytelling and influence skills is just a little bit. I wasn't able to come across like somebody that is, stakeholder engaging like that, customer facing. I'm being seen as somebody that is more into the back end of things like integration, data flow, APIs, and all the rest.
Oh, it's the opposite of Margot. You're more technical than client facing.
But I was a bit disappointed though, because I don't see myself as a full end-to-end person.
Yeah.
I just want a little bit of advice from you. How do I, because I don't want to be a one-street pony. I want to be versatile and being seen as somebody that is adaptable, basically, and then cannot, I don't want to be seen as somebody that cannot switch gears between technical flows, and then strategy. I just want to have a balance of everything.
So the reason why it's so odd is because your situation should be slightly easier than Margot's, right? Having the background that's very technical should actually be, you should be able to articulate it better in the interview to say that, hey, with all this technical knowledge, I can definitely clarify what the business wants and be able to speak perfectly well to the technical team. But it's the same problem though. It's the communication. It's the ability to speak about what you've done. And the thing about technical folks is that because you're so deep in the technical details, sometimes it's hard to come up a couple levels so that people who are not as deep as you can actually follow the logic of what you're saying in a layman's terms. I find that sometimes, even talking to some of my developers, sometimes you might find that they get They go way deep, really fast. And you're like, okay, wait, what does this mean from a business perspective? Like, so it's a skill. It's the same skill I was telling Margot about. How do you talk about what you've done in such a way that you can encapsulate years of work in a short, meaningful sentences that anybody in the room who doesn't know what you've been doing can understand. So I would work on, um, and when they want somebody who's client facing, they mean to say that I want to envision you in front of the client, helping them to understand the best thing to do, like helping them to understand the requirements. They want to envision you talking to customers and giving a good representation of the company to the customer. So that means in the interview you have to present, as this BA that can take ambiguous situations, unclear requirements, or just vagueness and streamline it in the way that you speak. So you're like really able to show them how you take something big and fuzzy and unintelligible actually and make sense of it by the kinds of questions that you ask. So it's again the communication, being able to bring it up a couple levels to as layman as possible. So like for example, you and I can talk about APIs all day long, right? And which call, if it's an inbound API, outbound API, and we can talk about all these different details, which you fully understand. But now when you're in the interview, you're gonna have to say integration connection to the different domains, right? So you have to speak about it at this higher level to hopefully they can understand it. And if they want more, you can go into the details. So I think it may be a symptom of being so detailed that they may not be able to follow you because they don't work for the company you're working for. They don't know what the processes are. So it's a skill of trying to make what you know, which is very thorough, as layman, unfortunately, as layman and as business-like as possible. And also presentation, right? So because they want you to be client facing, now you have to show up like sitting center camera like this. You have to be like taking up the space. You have to be speaking boldly, and your voice has to carry this authority, right? So all of these small things help, and that's kind of where we have to focus so that the next interview you can land it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm going to have a deep reflection and then see how I can use this as an experience for personal growth. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because sometimes the interviewers, they have such high expectations. They want you to show up perfect. Like it's not like I would take somebody who I have to train around the edges with some of the client facing stuff, but they have the detailed background knowledge and they know the BA stuff and they know the technical stuff. I would take somebody like that and kind of, you know, sharpen them up a little bit to put them in front of the client, as opposed to, hey, you didn't come like perfect. So the you know, I feel like sometimes the interviewers, you know, they're a little bit very harsh, and yeah, it's just the world we live in. Yeah. Okay. We're over time. I know some people got to drop. Margot, I see your hand up. Do you still have a question to ask? No? Yes, you do.
No, I'll have to put it down. Sorry.
Okay, cool. All right. Victor says, this is the last question. What do you think about AI introduction to BA position? Oh, we have to work with the AI. We definitely have to. As a matter of fact, in our April Global BA stand-up, we had a guest on that talked about all the different AI tools. You guys can go watch that on my channel, all the different AI tools, and we have to work with it. We're not going to get away from it. There's Copilot. Right now, I see people advertising for BA with knowledge of Mermaid. Mermaid is a tool that you can use to draw process flow diagrams. So you have all of these AI tools out there that we have to master. ChatGPT is there too. My organization has, we call it ask.io, where we actually use our knowledge base, our database of knowledge that the BAs can go in and ask a question to the AI, and the AI answers it. AI is going to help us draw diagrams. AI is going to help us to write better user stories. So the AI is there to assist us. It's another tool. It can't replace us right now because I don't see the AI having stakeholder interviews. I don't see the AI asking the customers what they really want. Like, we're not going to be replaced just like that. We just have to work with the times, and we have to use the tools as they become available and master them, and position ourselves to be in a place where we can actually be the ones creating these tools also. Like, one of my goals is to get into generative AI myself so I can work with projects that are building AI systems. And after it goes from the software of the AI, it goes into the physical AI and all that stuff. So we have to move. We cannot, the toothpaste is not going back in the tube. And we cannot live in a world where, oh, this is what I know. The thing about being a BA, which is great, is that it affects all parts of your life. Your decision making is going to change. You can't be a BA on Monday to Friday, and then you become a loggerhead on the weekend. It's not going to happen. It's going to affect how you make decisions in your personal life. It's going to affect how you show up for your family. It's going to affect everything. And as you learn these new tools, use them in your private life, personal life, and then master them in the professional life, it's an assistance to you. And there are many of them out there, some better than others, but we shouldn't be afraid of it, right? We have to use it and evolve with it, and wherever it goes, we have to go with it because it's not going back. It's here to stay. So yeah. All right, we are a little over time, and I wish I could stay longer with you this time, but I have to drop. I have another call. But yeah, thank you guys for all joining. Somebody says, I would also add work on the soft skills and put on the art of a liaison. I think that was for Labastic and Margot. They were adding some comments here. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining in our next stand-up, which is going to be in July. I hope to have all of you again here, and I hope that you guys can also participate in answering some of the questions and being more collaborative and just helping each other. We have a lot of work to do as a group of BAs to help each other to get jobs, to excel in our current jobs, and to learn from each other and build a community together. So I'm looking forward to all the successes that we'll have together. Keep Annie in your prayers. Remember, she needs to get that job. Okay? And for all of you who are out here and are in the job market, I want to pray you up and keep going, okay? Don't give up. Keep going. There's a job out there for you. As niche as your expertise is, there's a job for you. And I'm looking forward to some good news about you guys landing jobs soon. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our Global BA Standard for the month of June, my month. It's going to get better. It's going to be awesome. And I will see all of you in the next Global BA Standard. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.